Just this morning, I got a DM on Instagram from a wife who found out her husband had been cheating. She'd been living in disbelief, not wanting to believe that it was true. She was wanting to believe that the late nights at work were just for work. And it's been this way for the last 2 years, and her insecurities have built up, and now she's just destroyed from the inside out. She even said she thought she was being selfish because she always wanted him home. She beat herself up that she was being unfair because he was working long hours for the family. He's broken off the affair, but says he still is in love with her and still has lingering feelings. So where does she go from here? Everyone keeps telling her to just get over it, or at least it wasn't physical. She says, I feel like I'm going crazy. Am I overreacting? And here's what I told her, and I'm telling you. If you're watching this video and you've had this experience, you're not crazy. You are not overreacting, and you are not alone. Krissy and I have been coaching Christian couples through affairs and recovery for decades. And if you're watching this video, chances are your world has been turned upside down by some sort of betrayal. And maybe you just discovered your spouse's affair yesterday. Maybe it's been weeks or months and you're still struggling to make sense of it all. Or maybe you're wondering if your marriage can survive this, or even if you wanted to. Whatever brought you here today, I want you to know that what you're feeling right now is completely normal. The devastation, the anger, the confusion, the feelings like your whole life has been a lie, that's not you being dramatic. That's you responding appropriately to having your trust completely shattered. But here's what we've learned after walking so many couples through this exact situation. There are specific steps that you can take right now that will either help you or hurt you, bring healing or going to bring helplessness. And most people, they give in to the pain and confusion, and the situation just gets worse because they don't know what to do. So in this video, we are going to give you 3 specific steps that you can start today on your healing journey. And these aren't the only steps that you're going to need, but at least it's a start. It's a start from healing from betrayal, because here it is. It's a long process and it requires more comprehensive help, but these are the crucial first steps that will set you up for success. So if you have been in any kind of emotional distraught, affair, emotional, physical, any kind of betrayal with your spouse, this video is for you. I'm Joe. Welcome to the married life. All right, and just to let you know that if you stay to the end of this video, we have some free resources that we've created specifically for you. It's an emergency recovery kit that will give you additional tools to get you through the first critical weeks and months of finding out about this affair. But first, let me tell you something that might surprise you. When Krissy and I were younger, when we were dating, there were multiple times that I cheated on her. We were not always coaches. We were not always YouTubers. In fact, there was a time when our own relationship almost didn't survive. We understand betrayal very well from the inside out, and it's not just because of textbooks or training programs. And I'm not going to go into all the detail, but I can tell you that we've sat where you're at. We have felt the devastation, the anger, the hopelessness. We've wondered if our relationship was over, if we could ever rebuild this trust that I had lost with her, if God still cared about a relationship. And through our own healing journey, and now through coaching other couples, we've discovered that there is a pattern to healing from betrayal. There are specific things that help and specific things that hurt. These are steps that move you toward restoration and steps that keep you stuck in the pain. So the couple who heal successfully, and I mean they really heal, not just survive, they do all the certain things right. And the couples who stay stuck, who end up divorced or living in perpetual mistrust, they make predictable mistakes. So what we're going to share with you today comes from real experiences. These aren't just theories. These are battle-tested strategies that actually work. But before we dive into these 3 steps, I need you to address something that might be going through your mind right now. You might be thinking, I don't want to heal. You might be thinking, I want to get back at them. I want them to feel the pain that they've caused me to feel. And let me tell you, I get that. That's a completely normal response. Or on the flip side, you might be thinking, why should I have to do the work? They're the one who cheated. They're the one who should be figuring this out and fix it. And you're right. You're absolutely right. They should be doing the work too. But here's the reality. Your healing doesn't depend on your spouse. It doesn't depend on whether they're truly sorry, whether they're doing the work, or whether your marriage survives. Your healing depends on you and God. And that might sound scary because it puts the responsibility on you, but it's actually incredibly freeing because it means you're not powerless. You don't have to wait for your spouse to do the right thing before you can start getting better. Think about it this way. If you broke your leg, you wouldn't wait for the person who caused the accident to get better before you went to the hospital, right? You'd get your leg treated regardless of what they did. Betrayal trauma is a real injury to the heart, your mind, and your spirit. And it's just like a physical trauma. It needs proper care to heal correctly. And if you don't treat it properly, it can heal wrong and cause problems for the rest of your life. So these 3 steps aren't about letting your spouse off the hook. They're not about making excuses for what they did. They're about taking care of yourself so you can heal properly and make good decisions about your future. So let's dive into these 3 steps. Step number 1, stabilize yourself. And I know that might sound obvious, but most people, they skip this step and they jump straight to trying to fix their marriage. That's like going to perform surgery while you're having a heart attack. Like when you discover an affair, your nervous system goes into crisis mode. Your brain starts operating like you're in life-threatening situation because emotionally you are. Your sense of safety and security has been completely destroyed. So the first thing that you need to do is to create some basic stability in your life. This means taking care of your physical needs, your emotional needs, your spiritual needs. So let's start with your physical. I know you probably don't feel like eating, but your body needs fuel to handle this crisis. Even if it's just a protein shake or a piece of toast or something in your system regularly. The second thing, sleep, it's crucial. Even though it's probably the last thing you feel like you can do. Your mind is probably racing 100 miles per hour. You're replaying everything, trying to make sense of it all, but your brain needs rest to process trauma properly. And if you can't sleep naturally, talk to your doctor about a temporary sleep aid. This isn't time to tough it out, to think that you just need to beat your way through it or to, strengthen your way, muscle it up through it. You need sleep to think clearly and make good decisions. Now, emotionally, you need to give yourself permission to feel everything you're feeling without judgment. Okay? Anger, sadness, rage, confusion, fear, all of this, it's valid. Don't let anyone tell you to get over it or to just move on quickly or it's not that big of a deal. But here's what's important. Feel your emotions. Don't let them drive your decisions. There's a difference between feeling angry and acting on that anger in ways that are going to hurt you later. This is where having a support system becomes crucial. You need at least one person who can listen to you without trying to fix you or without trying to give you advice. Someone who can just sit with you in your pain. And now I know this might be hard because you probably feel ashamed or embarrassed about what's happened. But isolation is the devil's playground. Isolation is one of the worst things that you can do right now. The enemy wants you to be isolated because that's where he can do the most damage. And this brings us to our spiritual component of stabilizing yourself. This betrayal isn't just an attack on your marriage, it's an attack on your faith. Your hope, your ability to trust God, you might even be angry with God right now. You might be wondering why he let this happen to you. Why didn't he protect your marriage? Why your prayers didn't prevent this? Those are normal questions. And let me just tell you, God can handle your anger. He can handle your frustration. He can handle your annoyance. He can handle it. Okay. We serve a big God, but don't let your anger at God cause you to pull away from him when you need him the most. Even if you can't pray long prayers right now, even if you can't read your Bible for hours at a time, you need to stay connected to God, whatever small way you can. Listen, when Krissy and I went through our second miscarriage, there was a time when I just started pulling away from the Lord. And I realized in myself that in pulling away, I was doing myself a disservice, because he was the only one that was actually going to help me through this, through the bitterness that I even had towards him, through the confusion, through the anger. And so even as I was trying to read my Bible and pray, there were days that it was hard to open it. Days that my prayers were 30 seconds. Days when I would go to church and just be like, well, this is for everybody else, but not me. But I pushed through that pain, and now being on the other side, realizing God was with me the entire time in that pain. Don't give up on God, no matter how angry you might even be at him. Your prayers might just be, help me, God. That might be it. Throughout the day, maybe you're just saying, help me, God. Maybe it's listening to some worship music. Maybe it's asking other people to pray for you because you don't even have the energy to pray for yourself. The key is to not let this betrayal become a betrayal of your faith too. God did not cause this affair, but he can use it for your healing and growth if you let him. Now, practically speaking, stabilizing yourself might also mean setting some temporary boundaries. Like, you don't have to make permanent decisions about your marriage right now, but you can make decisions about what you need to feel safe today. And maybe that means your spouse sleeps in the guest room for a while. Maybe it means that you need some time apart to think clearly. Maybe it means that they need to find somewhere else to stay temporarily. Even as I say that, as Krissy and I coach couples, we put plans in place for couples that are separated to come back together. Because one of the hardest things that you could do is actually get separated, but not actually have clear next steps of how you come back together, how you forgive, how you repent, how you apologize, how you build trust again. You know what I'm saying? So it is good to take time apart, but do you have a plan in place to eventually, and it might be weeks, months, whatever it is from now, to come back together? And this is important to understand that these aren't punishments. They're boundaries to help you create the emotional space that you need to heal. And anyone who truly loves you is going to respect these boundaries, even if they don't like them. The goal of step one is to get yourself to a place where you can think clearly, where you're not just reacting out of pure emotion, where you have some basic stability in your life. Only then can you move on to step two. So what is step two? Step two is gathering the information. Now, when I say gathering the information, I'm not telling you to be a detective. I'm not telling you to hire a private investigator. I mean getting the information that you need to make informed decisions about your healing and the future of your marriage. See, there are 3 types of information that you need. Information about what actually happened, information about your spouse's current state of mind, and information about your options moving forward. This is the information that you're trying to get. So let's start with what happened. You deserve to know the truth about the affair. Now, not every gory detail you need to know. That can actually be more harmful than healing, but you deserve to know the basic facts. Like, how long has this been going on? How long did it last? How far did it go? Is it completely over? Have there been other affairs? These are reasonable questions that you have the right to ask. There was a couple that we were coaching, and he ended up having an affair right before their wedding. And I told him, because she was willing to work on it, I said, bro, understand this. There are going to be hard times ahead for you. And there are going to be times when she's asking questions and you're not going to want to give the answer. You're going to think, I thought we moved past this. You don't want to bring it up again. But for there to be healing, you have to be fully transparent. And so that means in 5 months after you think everything's good and she brings it up, you can't get mad at her. You have to have the conversation because you are regaining trust. Trust is lost in buckets, but it's gained in drips. And it takes time to gain that trust again. So now here's something that's important. You need to ask these questions when you're calm, not when you're triggered, not when you're emotional, and you need to be prepared for the possibility that you won't get complete honesty right away. Your spouse has been hiding stuff from you. They're learning how to be honest with you. Many unfaithful spouses engage in what we call trickle truth. They tell you just enough to satisfy your immediate question, but they hold back information because they think it's going to hurt you more. It's a little bit at a time. Now, this isn't necessarily because they're evil people. Often they're scared and they're trying to protect you from more pain. But partial truth is still deception, and it actually makes healing harder. So if you're the spouse on the other side of this and you did the affair, you caused the hurt, we are going to have another video. It'll be our next video that's for you specifically. But don't give in to the lie that you're just going to trickle out the truth. Don't give in to the lie that you're just going to share a little bit at a time. It's going to cause the healing process to take longer than you want. And really, it just feels like it's going to be more distrust. And she's trying to gain, or he's trying to gain your trust. So you lay it all out. Okay. So when you ask questions, you make it clear that you need complete honesty. Okay. Even if it hurts, you tell them that finding out more information later will hurt worse than hearing it all now, but be ready to hear it all now. And here's what's crucial, okay? If your spouse gets defensive, gets angry, or refuses to answer a reasonable question, that tells you something important about their heart condition and their readiness to do the work of rebuilding. They might not be, and I'm sorry. The second type of information that you need is about your spouse's current state of mind. Are they truly remorseful, or are they just sorry that they got caught? That's a very big difference. Are they willing to do whatever it takes to rebuild, or are they minimizing what happened? True remorse looks different from just feeling bad about getting caught. Someone who's truly remorseful will take full responsibility without making excuses. They'll be more concerned about your pain than their own discomfort. They'll be willing to answer your questions even when it's painful. They'll be willing to give up their privacy, change their lifestyle, cut off contacts with that affair partner and anyone else that you might not trust that they're talking with. Whatever it takes to rebuild trust. So even for Krissy and I, when I cheated on her when we were younger and dating before we were married, when we were trying to build back to a healthy relationship, she had access to my phone all the time, who I was texting, where I was at, all the stuff, because I was trying to rebuild that trust. Now, some of you might be like, oh no, that's too far. It's not far enough. I'm trying to show her that she's my number one. I could care less what you think. I could care less what they think. I could care less because I want to prove to her she's my everything. So here's my phone. Here's, track me on Life 360, or find my iPhone or whatever. Like whatever it takes, because there's a couple that we're coaching and sadly the wife, the one who was cheated on, she's the one that is actually bringing up the boundaries. He's struggling to give up his privacy, to change his lifestyle. Now, he had no problem. He cut off the contact with the person and everything. But why do I have to be home right after work? Why can't I go out with the guys? Why can't I X, Y, or Z? He doesn't realize that he's rebuilding trust. And here's the thing, guys. If your spouse is defensive, if they're making excuses, if they're more concerned about their reputation than your healing, that's important information. It doesn't mean your marriage can't be saved, but it means that they're not ready to do the work yet. The third type of information that you need is about your options. What are the different paths forward? What does healing look like? What does rebuilding trust actually involve? This is where education becomes crucial. You need to understand what a fair recovery actually looks like so you can make informed decisions about whether you want to pursue it or not. And most people, they have unrealistic expectations about how long healing takes or what the process involves. They think forgiveness just means forgetting, or that trust should be rebuilt quickly because their spouse said sorry. Like, hey, I said I'm sorry. Like, we're good. It doesn't work like that. The reality is that healing from betrayal typically takes 2 to 5 years of intentional work. Did you hear that? Intentional work. Trust is rebuilt slowly through consistent, actions over time. There's going to be setbacks. There's going to be difficult days, even when you're making progress. But you need to know now, right up front, so you can decide if you're willing to commit to that process. And there's no shame in deciding if you're not willing or able to do that work. But you should make that decision based on accurate information and not unrealistic expectations. Now, even when we coach people, one of the things we let people know, especially the person that committed the adultery, had the affair, emotional, physical, whatever, biblically, the one that was cheated on has an out. They can file for divorce, biblically speaking. And we always tell people, like, listen, we're in your corner. If you're gonna fight, we're gonna fight. But we're not gonna fight harder than you're gonna fight. And let me just tell you, oftentimes you have to see that both of you want to fight for it. I can't tell you how many people we've had on one-on-one calls that are so hard because one of the spouses is willing to work on the marriage and the other isn't. And that might feel like where you're at right now. Or you might be even feel like, no, we both want to work on it. We just don't know what our next step is. So below, I'm going to actually post a link to our Calendly account, and you can actually click that link to schedule a one-on-one call with Krissy and me, and we can talk with you and your spouse about it and see what next steps we can put in place to help you out. Because here's the thing, like you need professional help. Like this is one of the reasons that we do what we do, to help people through the aftermath of the affair. You need someone to help you navigate this process. It's a lie that time heals all wounds. It's not true. Proper guidance and next steps is what's going to heal all wounds. Now, while you're gathering the information, it's important to document what you're learning. So keep a journal, an Apple Note, a Google Doc, whatever. Journal the conversations, journal your decisions, your emotional state. This isn't for legal purposes. It's for your own clarity, okay? Because when you're in trauma, your memory gets fuzzy. Writing things down will help you track patterns, remember important conversations, and see progress over time. It's going to also help you identify triggers and understand your emotional patterns. You might notice that certain times a day are harder, or that specific topics consistently upset you. You need to write all that down so you can be growing and learning through this. Because the goal of step number 2 is to move from confusion and chaos to clarity and understanding. You're not going to make final decisions yet. You're just gathering the information you need to make good decisions later. Now, let's get to step number 3. Step number 3 is creating a support system around you. You need that. This might be the most important step of all, because you can't heal from betrayal in isolation. We talked about that earlier. That's where the enemy does his most damage. See, the shame and embarrassment of an affair makes most people want to hide. You don't want people to know what happened. You don't want to be pitied. You don't want to be judged. You don't want the marriage to become gossip material. You don't want your husband or wife to be talked bad about because you're trying to work on it. And listen, we understand completely, but isolation is one of the enemy's primary strategies. He wants you alone because that's where he can whisper lies to you, where he can convince you that you're worthless, that your marriage is hopeless, that God doesn't care about you, that you're forgotten, that you weren't good enough. These are all the lies that he wants to whisper in your ear. See, you need people in your life who can speak truth when you can't see it, who can pray for you when you can't pray for yourself, who can remind you of who you are when you're forgotten. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to tell everybody, okay? We highly encourage that. Do not tell everybody. You need to be wise about who you share this with. But you do need at least a few people who know the truth and who can support you through this process. So here's what to look for a support person or a support group, all right? Someone who's going to listen without immediately trying to fix you or give advice. Someone who can handle your emotions, because you're going to be emotional with them, without being overwhelmed by them. Who's someone in your life that can handle emotions? Who's someone that will pray for your marriage and not just tell you to leave? You also want to find someone who will tell you the truth in love, even when it's hard to hear. Someone who will call you out if you're making decisions based on revenge or fear rather than wisdom and leaning on God. See, this might be a close friend. It might be a family member. It might be a pastor. It might be a counselor. It might be Krissy and I. If you're like, hey, we're going to get coaching from them and they're going to know all of our junk. Here's the thing. The key is that they're safe, they're trustworthy, and committed to your healing, not just to making you feel better in the moment. Listen, when it comes to professional support, coaches like us, we specialize in betrayal trauma because here's the thing. You need tools and insights that are going to help you. And this is just the truth. Some friends, they just can't offer that. So you need to understand, right? You need someone in your life that's going to understand the stages of trauma recovery. They know how to help you process your emotions in healthy ways. They can help you distinguish between the normal healing responses and signs that you might need additional help, okay? You might also need to consider joining a support group for betrayed spouses. There's something powerful about being with other people who truly understand where you're at and what you're going through. There's online support groups. There's support groups probably in your church. And these are helpful for community. Online is great for privacy, right? So just make sure that any group that you join is moderated and focused on healing and not just venting, because you're not trying to get in a place with a bunch of other people who've been hurt. Because here's the thing, hurt people hurt people. And if you are all just gossiping about your spouse who hurt you, it's going to give you an easier way of just like, I'm done with this. I'm out. So here's the thing. Not everyone who offers advice has your best interests at heart. Some people are going to tell you to leave immediately without understanding the whole situations. Others will tell you to forgive and forget without understanding the process of healing. Some will project their own experiences onto your situation. You need people who will support whatever decision you make about your marriage as long as it's a healthy decision made from a place of healing rather than a place of trauma. Your support system needs to include spiritual support. Okay. So this might be a mentor, a spiritual mentor, a pastor, a prayer group. You need people who can help you process this betrayal in light of your faith. They can help you work through questions about forgiveness, about God's will for your marriage, about how to pray for your spouse when you're angry at them, when you don't want to pray for them, when you want to rip their head off, when you want to throw something at them. So remember this, building a support system isn't a one-time thing. Your needs are going to change as you heal, and different people might be helpful at different stages of the journey. So the goal is to make sure you're not walking this path alone. Healing happens in community, not in isolation. You need people who can carry you when you can't carry yourself. And here's something beautiful. As you heal, you'll eventually be able to support others who are going through what you're going through now. Your pain can become your purpose. Your mess can become your message. I don't know if you know Jimmy and Karen Evans or not, but they're a fantastic marriage couple who do marriage conferences and courses and everything. And he had an affair, I believe, on his bachelor party. And his mess has become their message. Mine and Krissy's mess has become our message. If you don't throw in the towel and you get people in your corner to fight with you and fight for you, your mess can become the message of hope to another couple in the future. Now, these 3 steps, stabilizing yourself, gather information, and creating a support system, these are crucial first steps, but they're just the beginning of the healing journey. In our comprehensive program, we walk couples through the entire process of healing from an affair. We address the spiritual warfare, what's happening in their marriage, the trauma process that needs to occur, the practical steps for rebuilding trust. And we have separate tracks for the betrayed spouse and the unfaithful spouse, because you're on different journeys. You have different needs. The betrayed spouse needs to learn how to process trauma and to forgive. The unfaithful spouse needs to learn how to take responsibility and to rebuild trust. You're on 2 different roads that you're believing are going to reunite again, where there'll be unity. And we also address the spiritual component that most programs ignore. Breaking generational curses, spiritual warfare, finding your identity in Christ rather than in your marriage. But whether or not you ever work with us, these 3 steps are going to give you solid foundations to start your healing journey. So if you're looking for somebody to be in your corner, to fight with you, to fight for you, again, I want you to click the link below. Okay. We want to set up a one-on-one call with you. It's free. We want to see how we can give you practical next steps to see your marriage restored. But whether or not you work with us, these steps right now, they're going to give you a solid foundation to start your healing journey. Don't underestimate their importance just because they seem simple. Healing from betrayal is possible. We've seen marriages that looked absolutely hopeless become stronger than they ever were before. And we've seen couples who are ready to divorce become testimonies of God's redemptive power. But guys, it requires intentional work. It requires professional help, and it requires a commitment to the process, even when it gets difficult. It's not a quick fix, but it is possible. Hey, if you found this video helpful at all, I want to have you go ahead, hit the subscribe button right now, because we're going to continue to give you marriage content to help continue to build your marriage. And we have something free for you. We have a free emergency recovery kit specifically for people who are dealing with the immediate aftermath of discovering an affair. So to get your free emergency recovery kit, just click the link below. You'll get immediate access to the resources that we have, and we'll also send you additional helpful content over the next few weeks. And if you know someone who's going through this situation, please share this video with them. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is give someone hope that healing is possible. Remember, you're not crazy. This is not your fault. I'm going to do that part. Remember, you're not crazy. This isn't your fault, and healing is possible. Take it one day at a time, one step at a time. You don't have to figure everything out today. We're praying for you. We're believing for your healing, and we're here to help you whatever we can do to help you get through this. Hey, thanks for watching, and then we're going to see you in our next video, which is specifically for the unfaithful spouse. You can go ahead and you can click that video right here.